Good evening and welcome to this evening's virtual town hall. My name is Lemuel Randolph and I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Arlington. We're here tonight to discuss the Active Adult Center, which was approved by Arlington voters in 2017. In recent meetings, City Council discussed the proposed location of this facility and the merit of consideration of another location in central Arlington. Based on these discussions, the City Council requested that a town hall be conducted to elicit feedback on the location. The schedule for this evening will be my formal presentation of the status of the Active Adult Center project. That will be followed by responses to previously written in questions that you from the community have presented to the city. And then we will follow that by a summary of comments that we've received from citizens, either pro or con, relative to the idea of moving the location of the facility. And then following that, we will entertain comments and questions from the public in a live format. So I appreciate you being here this evening, and we will begin the presentation. In terms of the project timeline, it's important to reference the history of this project and where we've been. In October of 2015, City Council authorized a conceptual and feasibility study for an active adult center and a multi-generational facility. The results of that study were presented to Council in January of 2016, and Council directed the staff to focus on the development of an active adult center and to incorporate the multi-generational center project into the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. In August of 2016, the Council discussed various funding options for the Active Adult Center. And in February of the following year, City Council voted to place the Active Adult Center on the May 2017 bond election. The bond was approved by Arlington voters in May of 2017. And the typical process for the sequence of bonds is on an annual basis between about $40 and $50 million of bonds are sold to support the various road, water, sewer, public works, and park projects throughout the city. Based on this sequencing strategy, the existing bond from 2014 would have expired in 2019. And thus, the Active Adult Center would be eligible for funding for the design phase of that project in 2020. Based on the council's strong interest in this project, however, a decision was made to advance the funding for the design portion of the project by 1 year to 2019. And as a result, the process to begin selection of a design consultant began soon after. And in February of 2020, a design consultant was selected for the project. Here we have the actual language that was presented to the voters for the issuance of $45 million in general obligation bonds for the Active Adult Center. You will note that in this specific language, it references the address of 1901 Lakewood Drive, which represents the Birch water treatment facility. This vote was passed at a rate of almost 69%, with those opposed at roughly 31%. Due to the specific address being included in the bond language, any deliberation of an alternate location would require ultimately council approval to put that question to the voters, and then the voters would have to determine if there was interest in moving the facility to an alternate location. So to talk a little bit about the schedule and the impact of a new location on that schedule, as I referenced earlier, the design contract has been signed, and we are currently under contract with a design firm. If a different location is decided, then this is the likely schedule for project completion. As I indicated, the design contract was initiated earlier this year. The programming phase began soon after with discussions regarding the types of anticipated activities and uses of the center. The program phase was informed by public engagement, where our consultant team and staff solicited input on the amenities and programs that were popular among our citizens, as well as a survey to direct feedback through a virtual format with public meetings held in July of this year. Due to City Council dialogue regarding concerns of equity, demographic changes, the significant COVID-19 impacts, and geographic proximity of the existing site, the design contract was paused for an opportunity to evaluate consideration of Vandergriff Park as a location for the Active Adult Center. If the Vandergriff Park site is ultimately approved, we would anticipate that the conceptual design phase could begin in October of next year, following concurrent selection of a construction manager at risk. The refined design, development of construction documents, and bidding of the project could occur by May of 2023. The construction timeframe would be roughly 15 months with an anticipated completion of fall 2024. And now we'll move into details specific to the interests of our citizens for the Active Adult Center. So this list represents a number of amenities and programs that both in 2016 and 2020 surveys, our public decided were the highest priorities. These priorities were highlighted through telephone surveys conducted in both years, as well as through direct public input session. And we'll show you some actual examples of the types of amenities that have already been established in Arlington recreation centers. This view shows the East Arlington Library and Recreation Center that will be open very soon. That image to the left is the new indoor pool of that facility. The middle image is the indoor track with the Beacon facility that's located in Southeast Arlington, as well as what you would typically see with treadmill machines in that facility as well. It also shows other forms of fitness equipment, meeting spaces, and gathering spaces that are associated with facilities of this type. So let's now talk a little bit about drive times associated with the two facilities in question. This analysis in a side-by-side map shows drive times with 3, 6, and 9-minute respective commutes to each location. The Birch location is in the left image, and it is located on the western edge of the city limits, just south of Pioneer, along Green Oaks Drive. The majority of the 3 and 6-minute drive times to the Birch site fall within Arlington city limits. However, due to the western orientation of the site, you will notice significant portions of the 9-minute commute and a lesser percentage of the 6-minute commute reside in outside of the city limits in eastern portions of Fort Worth. The Vandergriff site is located between Center Street and Matlock, just south of Pioneer and north of Mayfield Road. The majority of these drive times at the Vandergriff site show Arlington addresses. However, there are some areas in far west Grand Prairie that would be in this drive time distance. This next slide represents some data that is really interesting to note as it relates to race and ethnicity and the distribution of race and ethnicity in the city of Arlington. You'll note, and each of these dots represents about 25 citizens. Those dots in blue represent the white population in Arlington. And you can determine by this graphic that the white population primarily resides in the western sectors of the city. The red dots represent the African American population. And while distributed throughout the city, you will note significant concentrations of African Americans in Southeast Arlington, East Arlington, and in North Arlington. The Latino population is represented in green, and they are distributed primarily in Eastern Arlington, but most most visible, obviously, in the central eastern portion of the city. And then our Asian population, represented in yellow, although there is a distribution throughout the city, primarily a Eastern orientation with respect to the majority of the Asian population. And so the question of location is an important one to consider in the context not only of this equity question, but also as it relates to COVID impacts that we have all experienced. The COVID impacts we are still determining. We do know that COVID will be reflected in changes in some of our design standards for our new facilities. We don't exactly know how all of that will be developed over time, but we do know that there will be impacts. And so those are considerations that need to be discovered as the question regarding potential relocation come to bear. Wanted to provide you a little more data relative to the population centers within those drive times in Arlington. At the Birch site, you'll notice that there are about 103,000 total population designated in the green bar to the left. About 34,000 of those are over age 55 in yellow. And then a minority population is about 51,000 shown in that light blue number. Moving to the Vandergriff site, it has a slightly higher population at about 140,000 total, with the over 55 population at about 25,000 shown in yellow, and then a minority population of about 27,000 shown in light blue. We also wanted to take a look at the proximity of those facilities that cater to seniors in Arlington. And so within those drive times, we did an analysis of senior living communities, and we show 8 within the 6-minute drive time for the Birch site, and another 13 encompassed in the 9-minute drive time. And slightly more on the Vandergriff site with 10 in the 6-minute drive time and 19 located within the 9-minute drive time. So let's dive a little deeper into the specific locations that are in consideration. This represents the Birch site with a conceptual image of the facility. You'll notice Green Oaks Boulevard directly to the west of the site, with Woodland Park Boulevard to the south, and then Lakewood Drive to the east. The site is heavily wooded. Adjacent development includes on the west side of Green Oaks, you have police and fire facilities. You also have a mixed-use development that is under construction at the corner of Pioneer and Green Oaks. You have the Lake Arlington Golf Club, which is on the southwest corner of Pioneer and Green Oaks. And then you have significant single-family developments basically on the other side of Lakewood Drive to the east of Lakewood Drive. This site itself is about 36 acres. The need for the development of the Active Adult Center is about 12 acres, and so there is room for companion development of some sort. And in fact, the council has looked at and solicited an RFP to discover potential development interest for senior living developments that could occur. We have not been successful to this date with respect to those developments, but that opportunity does exist within the balance of the 24 acres that's available. If that was achieved, there could be a potential to offset some of the operational costs as it relates to the Active Adult Center. And so there is certainly some positive considerations with respect to that site and the potential for companion development. We're going to show you 2 potential locations within Vandergriff Park. Vandergriff Park is about an 84-acre park with, and many of you I'm certain are familiar with this park. It's the home for Bob Duncan Center, the city's largest skateboard park, tennis courts, swimming pool, extensive trails, and ball fields are located within this site. This is a fairly centrally located area within town. It borders Center Street to the east and Matlock to the west. And so it is associated adjacent to a number of medical facilities. It also has some retail, it has rehab facilities, a number of medical clinics. Medical City Arlington are all within fairly close proximity of the Vandergriff site, with obviously single-family development there to the east, and then there's multifamily development that's to the west side of Matlock Road. And so this orientation shows more of a easterly location within the Vandergriff site. The actual image of the building there in white, in essence, represents the area where the current Bob Duncan Center sits. And so that provides you a little orientation in terms of that potential location. This is a more westerly idea for the development of the facility within Vandergriff Park. You'll notice this is fairly close to Matlock Road, and has direct access from Matlock Road, and incorporates areas that are primarily undeveloped, although it would take up the pool facility if it was oriented in this specific location with that layout. But these are all just concepts, just so that you have a visual reference point. And so we did receive a few questions that we will take time to respond to. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we'll also provide a summary of the comments that we received. And then lastly, and certainly most importantly, we'll be receiving your comments and questions when we conclude. So the first question that we received was, who will financially benefit from breaking the promise? And so the question of breaking the promise is one that, while we understand the concern about consideration of a location change, the reality is nothing has changed. We are exploring options and opportunities, but there is all the plans that are moving forward with the idea that the Active Adult Center will happen. But this is simply an opportunity to explore the potential for a location change and to get input from the community in terms of how they would respond to that potential. And so there's no promise that's being broken. We are excited about moving forward with this project and anticipate that happening. Second question, is there a commitment for planned development around the Active Adult Center? I referenced earlier that there was some consideration of planned development adjacent to the site at Birch. That still is a possibility. There's nothing that is concrete as it relates to that, but that certainly is a possibility at that site. At the Vandergriff site, that is not as likely. That park is extremely active, and we certainly would not be considering changing any of the elements of that park for private development. And so that opportunity, as it currently sits, would not be an opportunity at Vandergriff Park. And then, what is the estimated subsidy required for operations of the center? This is a question that has received considerable commentary and discussion over the life of this project. The analysis that was provided by our consultant team in the 2015 study suggested a likely subsidy of in the neighborhood of $500,000 annually. And so we do not anticipate that the fees for service within the center will fully cover the operations. It will require a subsidy and it is suggested that that subsidy could be roughly $500,000 per year. That could be offset somewhat with companion development potentially, but absent that development or any other stream of revenue, we would anticipate that subsidy amount. And then we'll summarize for you some of the comments in terms of where those comments are skewing. We received 15 comments from citizens that weren't interested in speaking, and 13 of those comments were in favor of retaining the existing location at Birch, with some very strong opinions concerning potential delays in timing relative to considering another site, but certainly strong sentiment by those 13 for retaining the Birch site as the location. We did receive 2 comments that had interest in moving the site to Vandergriff, and those comments really revolved around the question of equity and proximity of that location to more residents within Arlington. And so that concludes the draft comments and questions that we received. And so at this point, we'll be going to the phones and we'll be answering your questions or allowing you an opportunity to speak. The rules of decorum for city meetings will be in place. And if you do have commentary, we'd like you to keep those comments to 3 minutes or under. And if you have questions, we have myself and a team here that will be able to answer those questions for you. So we have our first question. So speaker guidelines, we will go through those a little more formally. We have Vanera Flores Stafford, one of our assistant directors, who will provide those speaker guidelines in advance of our first question.
We ask that the citizens and others participating in the Active Adult Center Town Hall meeting assist in preserving the order and decorum of this meeting. We ask that all participants refrain from making personal, profane, slanderous, or threatening remarks and refrain from being disruptive while participating in the town hall meeting. For speakers, when you are called, please clearly state your name for the record before providing your questions or comments. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. If multiple speakers plan to provide the same or similar public testimony, those speakers may, if they so desire, designate one or more individuals to provide public testimony on behalf of the group. A bell will signal the end of each speaker's time. In consideration of other speakers, please conclude your comments promptly when you hear the bell.
Please state your name and begin your comments.
My name is Peggy Masters. I live at 1705 Northcrest Drive in Arlington, and I'd like to comment about this proposal. As a very concerned, long time, since 1967, citizen of Arlington, I'm also one of the team leads with Ambassadors for Aging Well. I'm most unhappy about any discussion or consideration of moving the voter-approved Active Adult Center from the Green Oaks Boulevard site to Vandergriff Park. The Green Oaks location was approved in 2017, and some design work has finally begun. It's time that the active older adults of Arlington to have the world-class, age-specific facility promised in the 2017 bond election. The city intends to build a multi-generational mega center in Vandergriff Park. We want our own tranquil space, not adjacent to a mega center. This area is a high-traffic area destined to become even busier with the proposed Cooper Street rehab, which may take many, many years to complete. Guess where the diverted traffic will go? Yes, Center and Matlock. This would not make for tranquility. The Green Oaks location is easily accessible from any place in Arlington, and with the proposed via expansion to include the whole city, anyone can get from there even without a personal vehicle. Without a personal vehicle. Additionally, there's a possibility of a senior housing development and a wellness center at the Green Oaks location. And I understand there's an interested developer about this. A move to Vandergriff Park would further delay this long-awaited center. There would have to be another election, new design work, and more construction to tear down existing facilities. I see dollar signs. Yes, some trees would be lost on the Green Oaks site, but the land is virtually ready to be built on, and we active older adults are ready for a world-class facility to be built. We're already behind neighboring cities with their wonderful age-specific centers. We've waited long enough. Let's move forward with the already voter-approved active adult center on Green Oaks Boulevard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Please state your name and your comment.
My name is Phil Kirchhoff. I live in West Arlington. I'm in favor of keeping the new adult center at the location on Green Oaks Boulevard. This option was on the ballot, voted upon by all of Arlington, and passed by a significant margin of almost 70%. There's an argument that the center needs to be moved to a more central location so people can walk to the center. Well, how do most people get there? If you check, you'll find most people drive. The only senior adult centers in the past have been on the east side of Arlington. Why can't there be one on the west side? How do you think people got there? They all didn't walk. There are many who live in Arlington, including myself, who've used the Summit, a great adult senior facility built in Grand Prairie. Here again, most of the people from both Grand Prairie and Arlington, among others in the area, drive to the facility. It's in the south of Grand Prairie. Not many people live near there. How do they get there? They don't walk. There's a new indoor swimming pool just opened in East Arlington. There isn't one in West Arlington. To use the pool, most people in Arlington drive to the pool. They don't walk. If you move the senior center to Vandergriff Park, how do the people living in most of Arlington get to the center? Again, they don't walk. Post oak trees that might be removed. There's a new housing development being built not far from the proposed site where hundreds of post oak trees were removed, and there wasn't any problem with that. Why do these trees get a special look? I'm in favor of building the new Arlington Seniors Adult Center on the site we voted for. It will be very easy to get to from most parts of the city via Green Oaks Boulevard. And as I recall in our survey, I thought the new center was supposed to have an indoor pool, not an outdoor one. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Pool, not an outdoor one.
Please state your name and begin your comments.
Very much for your comments. Pool, not an outdoor one. Thank you.
Please state your name and begin your comments.
I'm sorry?
State your name and begin your comment.
Thank you.
Please mute your TV or your live session. Hello? Please state your name and start your comment.
My name is Sharon Merrill. I am not in favor of moving the location of the Senior Citizen Center. The location was attached to the bond issue as presented to the voters, and it passed at the Green Oaks event. I did attend over a period of a couple of years from 15 to the vote on 17, many of the town hall meetings that were held at that time. Many of the concerns that are just now coming out of what I hear from the city council, according to their August and September council meetings, were things that were addressed in those town hall meetings. And other sites other than Vandergriff or Green Oaks were considered and were dismissed with cause, and the reasons were very clearly stated. One of them being not adequate parking. If the proposed Bob Duncan Center is proposed to be removed at some point in the future and a large mega generational center built there, And you also have the Senior Citizen Center built on that same property, and you get adequate parking. What space is left for any of the sporting events? As it is right now, I have meetings monthly at like Bob Duncan, and there is not adequate parking quite often for the evening meetings that I do attend there. If the sporting events are going, I have to search for parking. I am afraid by the time you get all of that in, there's no place left for us to park to be able to get to the buildings. Where I live, there's no way I could walk to either location. It seems to me that you need to follow the mandate of the voters when they passed this issue with a specific location attached to it. Do your jobs and build it where we said it was going to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Please state your name and start your comment. Please state your name and start your comment.
Okay, my name is Charles Parker. I live at 501 Crown Colony in Arlington, Texas. I have had an opportunity to review the August 18 and September 29 meetings, and I am disappointed in this current council in bringing up this subject matter at this time for several reasons. First, it was stated that the cross timber forest is a concern. In the 6 years that I was on council, the only time I ever heard about the cross timber forest was when the impact group, a bunch of little ladies that meet in a church, were considering this. And fortunately, they have Ms. Capehart to go ahead and do their bidding for them. And I'll tell you why the cross timber forest is not an issue. It's not an issue because I had an opportunity to go down 303 today and look at the multi-use purpose project that was on 303. Every tree that is also in the cross timber forest is gone. They took every one of them. So if it wasn't important to have those trees protected by council, then why is it now important to have the Pierce Birch trees protected? It's not an issue. Secondly, while I was on council, I had an opportunity to bring up the senior center on the 2014 bond issue. The discussion remained on for 2.5 years, and all the options were considered and studies were done pertaining to all aspects. And during that time, I visited senior centers in Irving, Euless, North Richland Hills, and Grand Prairie. I would venture to say that no other council member on that particular council visited any of them. And I would venture to say that no council member on this current council has visited any of those senior centers also. But nevertheless, here we are discussing options concerning the senior center after citizens have already allocated $45 million at Pierce Birch. Talking about finances is not what you should be considering. I realize that there is a shortfall, but it will not be felt until 4 years from now when the actual facility goes online. I get that shortfall. Have any council members looked at the shortfalls of Hugh Smith before it was built? What's that? What was that?
Your bell for 3 minutes. It's up. Or up.
Please conclude your comment.
Well, let me continue on for just a few more seconds, okay? The ambassadors for aging are over 500 in number, and they are very concerned about this particular senior center being moved. We shouldn't have to be taught how to treat our seniors by Grand Prairie. Although we have waited 5 years for us to be considered and put on the capital budget, I do not appreciate first of all, we have waited that 5 years, and now it's our turn. And I don't appreciate the current council walking into the movie when it's almost over and urinating on the popcorn. 14,119 voters approved this project, and I get the fact that they are getting emails, but until they get 14,119 of them, I think they should build the senior center Pierce Birch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parker.
Please state your name and make your comment. We're ready for you to state your name and make your comment, please. Hello, Ms. Wallman. Can you mute your screen? Ms. Wallman? Please state your name and make your comment, please.
Thank you. My name is Alicia Gray. I live at 410 Baylor Drive, 76010. First of all, I'm a bit surprised that the data shown really seem to point to Vandergriff Park being a more suitable location for a larger number of Arlington seniors. So that was something that was unexpected to me. As president of the Heart of Arlington Neighborhood Association, I do need to disclose that at our board meeting earlier this month, we took a vote and voted 9-0 in favor of a move of this senior active adult center to Vandergriff Park for a large number of reasons. And most of those you're aware of what they are. But as an Arlington citizen, I just feel that at this point, being in the pandemic and not knowing how things are going to look coming out of that moving forward with this project now just seems to be reckless. And I would like to recommend that we just kind of press pause on this for now, regardless of what the location might be for that, what might be the best location. I just really think it would be better at this point just to pause this through at least 2021 until we learned like what is going to be necessary, what would be required, how we would move forward with an activity center. Looking at the photographs that were shown earlier, and you see all of the treadmills that are right next to each other, that may be something that in 2023, 2024, we're back to. But we don't know. There could be other legislation, federal legislation that comes out of this following the pandemic that might create different changes and might require something completely different than the way that we've done things in the past. So I would just like to request that we just pause on this project through 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Please state your name and begin your comments.
Hello?
Please state your name and begin your comments.
There's someone talking right now.
Can you mute your TV or broadcast, please? There's a delay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hold on just a second. Okay.
Okay, we're ready for you.
Okay, good. Katherine Wildman, a longtime resident of Arlington and former council member. I completely agree with the previous speakers on all the reasons why this senior citizens activity center needs to stay at Pierce Birch. For one thing, I heard when our parks director was talking about the locations, I noticed that at Bob Duncan, it was even stated there's a lot of activity there. There will be even more activity there. And this location at Pierce Birch will be a more not secluded, but a place where seniors can go where they feel like there's just the senior activity center there. It's also with the residential that is a possibility, with the golf course that's across the street. I think those are amenities, and then we have fire and police across the street. Also, it's been talked about walking. Well, we know that we all walk on the trails, but not many of us walk to a destination like a center. And in Arlington, as I understand, in January, we're going to have citywide service with VIA, which is our city transportation system. So everyone can get there, whether they have a car or not. And it's very economical for them to go, and there'll be possibilities to work something out so that everybody could use our system to get there. This is something we have needed for, I can't even tell you how many years. I've known about it and worked on a activity center for seniors since at least 10 years ago. And we are finally there. Over 60% of our voters voted for this location. The location was on the ballot, and I think the seniors knew, and all of the people knew where it was going to be. So now I think it would just really be remiss that we would even think about moving. That also delays. It may come about, but it would delay what we're planning to do, and it's time that a city of 400,000 people deserve at least, as I said before, I think someone mentioned, a world-class senior activity center just for seniors. And that's what you have. We have the money is available, the land is available, the concepts are starting. So let's move forward and let's tell Arlington, seniors, you got it. We really need this center. And I've talked to many of them. I am one. And I say, please leave this, go forward, and let's get it done as soon as we can. Thank you, Council. I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and I know this is tough, but I want to tell you it's the right thing to do, is to leave it at Pierce Birch and go forward with the project as projected and as voted on by the majority of the people that voted when we did it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wildman.
Hello, can you please mute your background and state your name and begin your comments?
My name is Barbara Salser. I live at 1819 Brookview Drive in Arlington. I'm a 50-year resident of Arlington. I'm also a senior who I voted for that, but I do not remember noting that it had a specific address, and I believe now that it really needs to be moved to the Vandergriff location. I think it is much more economically and environmentally a place for this to be built. I do agree with a previous comment by Alicia Gray that this probably should be postponed until sometime past the pandemic, because we have no idea of what the need or anything else will be at that time, economically or any other way. I also believe that this is a better location, however, because it is right in the middle of all of the medical facilities, the therapy, everything else that would be beneficial to any senior. I also note that this is an active adult center rather than a senior center. So I'm assuming that it means that more active adults would be using this as well. And I think this is in the better place for all more active adults than the other one, because this is right in the middle of a more heavily populated area. It's more environmentally a better place because you don't require the grading that would be involved. You don't require all the tree cutting that would be done. It's also, the Bob Duncan Center is due to be replaced eventually anyway, including the swimming pool. So I just think it's a better place for it to be, but I do agree that we should postpone any decision on this until sometime that we can see past the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salzer.
Using this as well, and I think this is
Please mute your background. State your name. and
I'm
begin your
sorry?
comments. All right, please state your name and begin your comments.
Hello?
Please state your name and begin your comments.
Yes. Hello, my name is Darla Pesmel. I reside at 3819 Carroll Lane. I have been a proud resident of Arlington for the past 43 years. It is my honor and privilege to serve on the leadership team of the Ambassadors for Aging Well in Arlington. We have spent a tireless amount of time and effort in establishing everything as it is for the Active Adult Senior Center. And I simply wanted to state that the senior residents of Arlington are those who helped build, establish, and make Arlington what it is today. They're the reasons you and I have the freedoms and liberties that we do today. And we owe it to our senior residents to ensure that their continued wellness. It is also a calling of mine. I serve as the Director of Palliative Transitions for Freedom Hospice. I see the end result of sedentary lifestyles. I see the end result of senior isolation. And the others that spoke before on delaying the process, scrapping it all together, you know, from a nurse's perspective, and having been someone who assisted in processes of building, you know, just because they feel like there's a need. I mean, no disrespect, but if we move forward with this, it's still going to be time to take to have it built. But it is imperative that we keep it where it is. It was voted on, and, you know, I'm very much for keeping the location where it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Please mute your background, state your name, and begin your comments.
My name is Connie Kerr.
You can begin your comments.
Okay. I'm a resident of Arlington since 1981. Live in Southwest Arlington, so the originally proposed location for the Active Adult Center is much closer to my home than Vandergriff Park is. For the record, I am a member of the IMPACT organization, which was referenced earlier. When this was on the ballot, I voted for the Active Adult Center, even though even at that time, I felt like the Far West location was not ideal for most of the citizens of Arlington to have, you know, adequate access to it. I think the Vandergriff Park location would be a much better place for this to be built, and I think that it should be on the ballot with that question at the next election. Even more importantly, though, than the distance driving time for everyone in Arlington, I'm concerned about the stand of historic trees that would be further destroyed than what they have been. We drove past there yesterday, and I was mortified at the number of trees that have already been destroyed. And these trees are literally a living legacy to the history of Arlington, and I feel like that they should absolutely be preserved for the enjoyment of future generations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Kerr.
Please state your name and begin your comment. Please state your name and begin your comment.
Yes, ma'am. This is Jacob Sumter, 7011 Lake Powell Drive, Arlington, Texas, 76016. I've been listening to all the dialogue, good points made by all parties, but, you know, I'm not a senior at this moment. I went to college here in Arlington. I work in Arlington. I volunteer in Arlington. I live in Arlington. I care about it. Someday I will be a senior. And there was some discussion earlier about drive times, and it seems like anywhere you drive in this region, it takes you 20 to 30 minutes to get anywhere. So I'd be curious to see what the data shows of, longer drive times of, say, 15, 20 minutes, and what that reach is for, our senior community. Kind of did my own research using some readily available data from American Community Survey, and it's roughly similar when you get into the larger drive times on the population that you'll reach with both locations. With regard to the Pierce Birch location, we have two great amenities that are already there that will complement this new facility with Lake Arlington Golf Course and the Great Lake Arlington. So I feel like with the introduction of the senior center at Pierce Birch, it could provide additional amenities that and programs that could be made that could serve the seniors, whether it's kayaking, fishing, bird watching, playing golf, all right there in one location. So I feel that that's mostly the best location for facility. I think it has better access. Green Oaks is a much nicer and quieter drive than driving down Matlock with Center. And, comparing the two, there's not as many residential developments around Pierce Birch as there would be around Vandergriff. So I'm in support of the Pierce Birch location, and I appreciate you allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sumter.
Please state your name and begin your comment.
Hello, my name is Kevin Eaton. Am I free to speak?
Please, yes.
My name is Kevin Eaton. I've been an Arlington resident for 22 years. And though I'm not a senior myself, I would like to express my thoughts in support of keeping the Adult Activity Center at the present Green Oaks location. I will not dwell on this topic as it has been covered by others, but I do feel strongly that the Parks Department and other city staff did extensive diligence regarding the best location for the center, and robust discussion by city leadership, city staff, and citizens took place in 2015 through 2017. The bond election was specifically referencing the Green Oaks location was overwhelmingly approved. To now try and subvert the will of the voters is simply not right. My other thoughts are as follows. Relocating the site to Vandergriff Park would place the center within 5 miles of the summit, Grand Prairie's first-class senior adult active center. There's not a finer senior center in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and locating two world-class facilities within 5 miles of each other makes little sense. A rational retailer does not put two category killer assets in such close proximity to one another, and municipalities shouldn't do it either. Furthermore, there are also senior options in East Arlington, while West Arlington has no such senior facilities. Some have argued that Vandergriff is a more central location and thus more convenient for more seniors. And if all you do is simply look at a map, it might be easy to reach that conclusion. However, I have always lived near Green Oaks, and I know it to be a highly efficient traffic arterial with 3 lanes each way, few streetlights, virtually no stop signs, and a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit, which provides great access to the city. I presently live near Green Oaks in Arkansas, near the chosen site. I know that I can get to far north Arlington and far south Arlington in approximately 10 to 15 minutes. Also, I believe there's a perception that there are more seniors in East Arlington than West Arlington, and perhaps this was the case 20 or 30 years ago, but it's not the case today. Arlington's senior population is actually very well dispersed across the city. The number of Arlington seniors within 10 and within 15-minute drive times of the Green Oaks site and the Vandergriff Park site are virtually the same. If you consider all seniors, including non-Arlington residents, such as those in Grand Prairie and Kennedale, Mansfield, and Fort Worth, There are actually many more seniors within a 15-minute drive time of the Green Oak site than the Vandergriff site. When you factor that the Summit and Grand Prairie meet some of this demand, you would never relocate the activity center to Vandergriff Park. Again, going back to my retail analogy, no rational retailer would choose the Vandergriff Park site over the Green Oak site, looking at supply and demand. A final argument I've heard is to consider moving the center relates to the trees. There are lots of trees on the site, and there are several great trees on the site. I've driven past this location twice a day for almost 10 years, literally more than 5,000 times. As long as I've lived here, the trees have been surrounded by an 8-foot-tall chain-link fence with a barbed wire top. Not exactly inviting and enjoyed by no one. I wish people would see the trees on the site as an asset and a tremendous opportunity, not a liability. You can't economically recreate this park-like setting. If the activity center is responsibly designed and takes into account the location, the best trees, you can have something special, a municipal jewel like River Legacy Park. Finally, the main reason to build a senior center is for seniors to be active, to socialize and exercise. There's no better exercise for seniors than walking. However, they will not walk outdoors from May to October if pathways are not shaded. Vandergriff Park has few trees for a park and none along its walking paths. Other than a handful of trees along Johnson Creek, Vandergriff has no native trees. The Green Oak site is large enough to build the activity center and retain a park-like setting so that people can enjoy the trees as part of their activities. For these reasons, I am strongly in support of maintaining the Green Oak site and commencing with the plan approved by the citizens in 2017. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Please state your name and begin your comment.
My name is Shirley Adams, and I lived in Arlington for 46 years, and 36 years of that time I've lived in Southwest Arlington. I'm calling, and my comments are related to moving the AAC Center over in the Vandergriff Park, and for a number of reasons. The first reason is that that area is already developed. You have roads that lead inside the park, you have lighting, you have some of the infrastructure that's already there in the park, plus some lovely green space and well-manicured space that's already there, that's been well-maintained over the years. Secondly, my reason for thinking about the Vandergriff Park or putting this on the table is that there are a lot of people in that area, southeast Arlington, central Arlington, and the central part of Arlington that have health issues. COVID has brought out a large part of disparities in health care. Sometimes these folks are underinsured or not insured. The fact that it would be located near hospitals and professional medical buildings and professionals that are in this area would give an opportunity for programming to screen for health issues, educate some of the citizens regarding some of these existing health issues that are debilitating, such as diabetes, heart problems, high cholesterol. All of those things can be taken care of with knowledge and education. I've lived in Southwest Arlington. I have options. People at my status or economic status have options of where to go, when to go. We are more privileged to understand and to be able to execute information because we have some options, including good health insurance. So my support is to consider Vandergriff for the good of for the people in all of Arlington. That would give access to those who need additional information, need from social services, which Arlington Charities up the street. Those that are food insecure can also link into those services. So there'll be opportunities for all of us to benefit from a great center in Vandergriff that will be centrally located for all of Arlington. And that's my reason for my support.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Adams.
Please state your name and begin your comment.
Yes,
Yes, state your name and begin your comment.
My name is Kennedy Jones, Pastor Kennedy Jones. And what was the second question you asked?
Yes, continue.
Okay, yes, my name is Pastor Kennedy Jones, and am I on? Are you ready for me to start talking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello, Lemuel. Hello, Trey. Good to see you, boys. And I'm calling. I had one question up front that I wanted an answer, which was the cost of the Pierce Birch Center compared to the cost of the Hugh Smith renovation, new center over there.
Certainly, Pastor Jones. So the bond amount that was allocated in 2014 for the East Library and Recreation Center, which is replacing the Hugh Smith Center, was a little under $26 million. And the bond amount that was allocated for the Active Adult Center in 2017 was $45 million.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Okay, now here's my comments. Is that every once in a while, a community and a city has to take a look at its own soul and make a determination whether it's going in the right direction. And I think the events of this past summer and this year have made many of the citizens of our country and of this state and of this city take a good hard look at where we are going and how we as a city are maturing. Are we maturing in a way that leads to basically 3 different cities within the one geographical location? A white city over in the west, a Hispanic city in the east, and a black city down south. No one with privilege freely just decides to give it up. I get that. I understand that. This Pierce Birch Center, which I believe the city needs, I think is a good thing. I don't think it ought to be put on hold as long as we can afford it. However, if you look at the difference in cost between what you did at Vandergriff and what you're doing over in Green Oaks, it's no comparison. It will be, Pierce Birch, I agree, will be a world-class facility. I've heard stories about it. But for who? A world-class facility for our white citizens, if we are honest. Speaking on behalf of the Arlington Ministerial Association and the NAACP, this kind of facility in a location that brings the citizens together, not facilitates their segregation from one another. If we put this facility over in Green Oaks, that's what we're doing. We're saying the high dollar Pierce Birch Center for our white residents, and they will stay there. And the lesser cost of the Hugh Smith Center for the Hispanics and African Americans, and that's where they will be. But if we put this facility down at Vandergriff, it will bring the whole city together.
Thank you.
And I believe that it's worth it if we reevaluate where we are in the light of this time in our lives and make the determination we can do better, we can be better.
Thank you, Pastor Jones. We need to move on to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Please mute your background and state your name and begin your comment. Miss Elba?
I'm here.
Can you mute your background noise? And you can state your name and begin your comment.
I don't know how to mute.
You can just turn it off. Perfect. Can you state your name and begin your comment?
So this is Elva Roy. Are you ready for my comments?
We can't hear because of the background noise. Can you turn it off?
Let me see if I can stop my computer.
Look on the bottom right-hand corner. There's a volume button. Oh, perfect.
Yep. So I'll just delete. Okay.
Okay.
I think that took care of it.
Okay. Can you state your name and begin your comment, please?
Yes, my name is Elva Roy, Ambassadors for Aging Well in Arlington. And I wanted to speak about why it's not a good idea to move the location from Green Oaks, which is a loop around Arlington, to a 10-minute drive from anywhere in Arlington to the Vandergriff Park. So seniors do not have to travel during rush hour traffic. Very few people are going to be walking to the center at either location, at Vandergriff or the one on Green Oaks. Starting in 2021, the VIA shared ride service will be covering all of Arlington, and HandyTran is still available too. The only two senior centers in Arlington have been located in the east side of Arlington for the last, 50 years. The New York Senior Center will remain open, and no decision has been made by the city about whether to keep Eunice Senior Center open or not. I hope it stays open so that seniors who'd like to go there can continue. We don't want to be located too close to the Summit Senior Center in Grand Prairie, which is our competition. One of the primary reasons we want to keep the location on Green Oaks is because there is land available there for some commercial development to make it a senior enclave, including some senior housing and a wellness center clinic, which could make it even more attractive to seniors, plus offset some of the operating expenses costs. Vandergriff Park, the proposed new location on Matlock, where the city intends to build a multi-generational mega center, has some soil issues and lacks enough space to support building any senior housing or wellness center there. So that is our concerns. Thank you.
Ms. Roy, thank you for your comments.
Can you please mute your background? State your name and begin your comments.
Okay.
Please state your name and begin your comments.
Okay, my name is Patricia Monin. I live at 2802 Millbrook Court, 76012.
and actually the Vandergriff location would be a bit closer to me. However, I'm very concerned that the council is bringing us up at this late date. The Green Oaks location has already been approved by a mandate of the Arlington voters, and I don't believe it should be moved. Moving the location will require a new vote and will only delay the design and construction. Also, I'm surprised at the mention of the pandemic. If we delay this or any project due to COVID, we won't get anything done. We really need to start living our lives again. With due respect to the pastor, I'm also shocked that race was brought up. I've attended the summit in Grand Prairie and met a number of active seniors of color who have traveled from Arlington to go there. This is not a racial issue. I recommend moving forward with the current location. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Can you please mute your background, state your name, and begin your comments?
Okay. Hi. Somebody's already talking, though, right?
There's a 30 to 40-second delay.
Okay. All right. My name is Janice Medlin, and all I'd like to say is that I really would like to keep it the location where the voters voted on it. I'm concerned more about Vandergriff being a potential problem with seniors having to compete with large family activities for parking and just walking to the facility. I don't think that's safe. So I love, if you've ever seen the summit, it's a nice secluded area just for seniors. That's more what seniors would want. I'm an active senior. I go to the summit sometimes. We've got that brand new facility that's going to open in East Arlington where Hugh Smith was located. So I would just like to say, for a safety factor, I don't think seniors need to be competing with large family outings, baseball games, 4th of July outings that are held at Vandergriff Park. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Please state your name and begin your comments.
Daphne Martin.
Can you mute your background, please?
I just did.
Thank you. Okay, state your name and begin your comments.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Daphne Martin, and I live at 1019 Baldwin Drive. I moved to Arlington, Texas in 1985 from Chicago, Illinois, and I selected Arlington because it was not Dallas and it was not Fort Worth. It was a perfect suburban size for me and my family. I have no doubt that the Pierceburg location would be a magnificent one because of the size of the lot and the location being out of the way. But I think that we have to re-examine several new things that have come to light that we didn't previously consider when this initial election for this building occurred. One is the budget shortfall at this point. The City Council is recommending a 0.25% increase in city taxes. And if we were to go with the Vandergriff location, you would be saving nearly $19 million. Or you could still take some of that money and still build a state-of-the-art facility at the Vandergriff Park, considering parking and other amenities that seem to be a concern. But the biggest concern for me is the budget shortfall and the purpose in us having to vote now for a city tax increase. And this would release the budget the budget restraints that we are under right now. I also think that Arlington is already known as an entertainment city, and I think we want to be a city that is inclusive of all citizens so that everyone feels like Arlington is their city, and it is a city for quality of life of everyone. So moving it more centrally located, I believe, would provide that opportunity for all citizens. And as previously stated, you would be closer to hospitals and a medical center. I know there's tennis courts not too far away if people wanted to go there. It just seems like it would be an easier place to get in and get out of. So I am in favor of moving it to the Vandergriff Park because there were things that are happening now that were not of consideration when the vote happened previously. And also we need to consider COVID-19. Although we will start construction at some particular point, we need to be mindful of if this virus or something similar ever comes back, that we take into consideration space and social distancing in the new design of this facility. Thank you very much for listening to my comments, and thank you for all that you're doing as a city council.
I appreciate your comments. I just wanted to inform the public relative to the question of the quarter-cent sales tax. That is on the ballot as a city matter for the November 3rd election. However, that matter has nothing to do with this project that we're discussing this evening. That quarter-cent sales tax would be allocated for economic development, distinct from the Active Adult Center. Additionally, the $500,000 annual operating subsidy that is suggested for the Active Adult Center would be regardless of the location. And so either location that would be picked, we would anticipate a subsidy requirement of roughly $500,000 annually. So I just wanted to ensure that the public was aware of that distinction. And I will point out that there's not a difference in construction cost relative to the two sites. The $45 million that's allocated for the project would be anticipated for either location. And so the distinction between the Hugh Smith replacement facility and the Active Adult Center facility were a function of the specific scope and amenities that were suggested for each facility and had no bearing with respect to location. So just wanted to clarify that.
Your comments, and please mute your background.
Okay, right now. My name is Susan Eves. I've been a... Okay.
Background, please.
I'll wait till Lemuel... I'm here, but Lemuel's talking right now.
Turn off your device.
Turn it off?
Turn off your TV.
Oh, my TV?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Have to find the thing. Okay, I turned it off. Just tell me when I start.
You can start now.
Now?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Susan Eves. I've been a resident of Arlington since 1968, and I've been a park and rec professional for 50 years. And I've been on the park board for 16 years. I have been working at the summit for the past 10 years since it opened. So I know firsthand what an active adult center does for the quality of life of seniors. I believe that we need to stay at the location at Green Oaks. It was a good location. We can build additional retirement facilities, which will add extra revenue, tax revenue for the city. Vandergriff does not have the room to build additional facilities at the summit. The Aspens retirement facilities were built and filled immediately, and all the other facilities were built around because that's what people want. People will come. It doesn't matter that if it's centrally located because we have the summit has the Grand Connection, but Arlington has Handytran, and they can work where they can take seniors to the facility, and there are ways to get around the transportation problem. It doesn't have to be centrally located. People come from Irving, Mansfield, Arlington, Fort Worth, Duncanville to the summit. There's 6,000 members. The location really doesn't matter. It's the quality of life of what it will do for seniors because they're not at home and isolated and alone. They'll have fitness programs, ways to be with other people,
trips, it's just made a better life for all of our seniors. And our Arlington seniors deserve that. And they've been waiting for this for over 5 years now. And if we move the location, we'll have to have another election, which will delay it even more. And it just doesn't make sense. The location was vetted when the architects looked at it originally and the staff, and they saw that it was the best location for what we need. And I'm imploring the council to not make the decision to move the location. The summit has been so successful, and we've got so many Arlington residents that come, and they're driving all the way to Grand Prairie. And people will drive all over town to come to this recreation center, the senior center. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and I hope that we don't delay this anymore. We've already waited 3.5 years, and the design is just barely started. So please help us get us started as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Eves. Before our last speaker, we did receive an additional non-speaker comment in support of the Vandergriff Park location. And now for our last speaker.
All right, please mute your background, state your name, and begin your comments, please.
Yes, Jeff Williams, and just wanted to come on and say I appreciated all of the input that has been given by our citizens on both sides. I think that's so important that we always listen. I will say, too, though, that I have had over the last 4 or 5 years, had so many seniors coming and asking me for this active adult center at the Pierce Birch site. And I've had so many to continually come to me and say, please hurry and get it done so that I can see it in my lifetime. And so I didn't want this to be, this meeting to be misconstrued that I have changed my position there on it at all. I am in favor of the Active Adult Center being at the Pierce Birch site. I think there's an incredible opportunity for us to create a senior center that wouldn't just be an active adult center. I think that it's very real to have a wellness center and housing, much like many other cities have. And yes, this all came about because of what we had seen at the summit. And when I went through it, I was amazed at what had been done. And so that came about. Well, we have gone through all of the same discussion here before, and I'm not ever wanting to squelch discussion, but much of the same things that are coming out here had come out before. And then I'll also say that our council has worked really hard here to take care of our entire city. And it was very uplifting to see the Beacon Recreation Center open in Southeast Arlington. And here in just a few weeks, well, in fact, even sooner, just a few days, we're going to see the East Arlington Recreation Center, that is both of these state-of-the-art facilities that are going to be opening up. And when you add the money that we put into recreation centers, I don't want you to think that there is anything second-rate about either one of those, because our council very much stated that. In addition to that, we're coming into amazing technology advancements here, and especially in transportation. And our VIA program is suddenly making our entire city available to us. And I think it's going to bring us together, and we're going to be able to expand the VIA program so that everyone can get around to wherever it is that they want to go, but even more importantly, to be able to get to the doctor, to be able to get to work, to be able to get to education facilities, and yes, also recreation facilities, so that we can improve our health. And if we've seen that public health is so important. So again, wherever it goes, we're going to be able to get to it, and that is not going to be an issue anymore, and that's been an issue in the past. In addition to that, if the senior center goes into Vandergriff, we must take into account all of the parking and traffic and land that's going to take place, because the master plan has a major multi-generational facility going in at Vandergriff Park. And I think if the senior center is moved there, we will never see that multi-generational park because of the traffic and land. Plus, we cut off the opportunity there for having senior housing and a wellness center, which, by the way, will help us to offset some of the downfall of the cost of that. There was a couple of comments tonight, though, that I think are valid. I think that both sides need to think about, and that is that we believe that we're going to be coming out of the COVID here in this next year, but we've seen that things are unpredictable. I think it's very valid that we should not start construction on this facility until we're out of this pandemic, and that's what I heard tonight, and I think that makes some sense. And then the other thing that I'd like to say, I appreciated the respect that was shown here, and I think we need to continue that. That's the Arlington way. And let's respect each other's opinions. And just as I'm expressing my opinion as a citizen here, I'm not speaking for the rest of the council. I'm giving my deal, and I felt like I really needed to because I've worked so hard here to listen to our people and to move forward, but also to be a person who does what I say I'm going to do. And I think that's very important. And also, I don't, please don't condemn a council for revisiting an issue. Nothing has happened yet. They're on it. And of course, I do understand that we're discussing it, but nothing has been done. This is just a listening session for us to be able to do that. Let's stay together. There's nothing more important than unity inside a city there, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm afraid of is that we have such good people on both sides of this issue that have worked side by side on so many important issues. And then the last thing I'll say is that we have leadership in this community. We have citizens in this community that are working every day to make sure that we become the best we can there in wiping out racial injustice and inequities. And it's going on now. I'm very proud of what we've done, but know, too, that we're trying to balance the entire city and that we want our entire city to be a place where we look at everyone, regardless of any ethnicity or social economic status. And in fact, I'm very proud of what's going on there. So the council will be taking this up. I appreciate all of the input that's been given tonight, and let me all turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, citizens, for providing your input on this important discussion. As the mayor suggested, the city council will be evaluating the comments tonight, and they will be taking into consideration their thoughts about your perspectives and ultimately making a determination of the next direction. And so stay tuned for more conversation at the council level regarding this topic. And I appreciate your attention this evening, and thank you so much for your support of Arlington. Good night.